Every time we encounter this parable in our readings, I find myself wrestling, lost in the weeds, trying to sort it out, and just really confounded. Do you have that same experience? I bet the Bible study class had fun with this week, didn't you? I think we can wrap our heads around the rich man's reaction when he hears the rumors that his manager is squandering his resources. Because no one likes to be taken advantage of or to have their personal resources foolishly wasted by another. We do not know what the manager did to squander the rich man's assets, but we do know that the rich man called the manager to account for himself. And in the same breath was told, you can no longer be my manager. And it is that moment of reckoning. And he has no recourse here. So what does he do? He goes and thinks about, well, what can I do? And he realizes just how limited he is, because he's not physically strong enough to do manual labor, and he has too much pride to beg. There must be some way to ensure he won't become a social outcast and looked down upon by others. The one gift the manager has is street smarts. And he sizes up the situation. He calls the debtors, reduces their debt, ensures their indebtedness to him, and makes the rich man look generous instead of a fool. Everyone wins. All the relationships are held through an act of deception. We have to wonder about that. Some sources say perhaps he cut out his own commission and that's how it all worked. And we just don't know that for sure. But we do know he was shrewd. And then there's this strange part about the children of light have a lot to learn from the shrewd people of the world. And what might that mean for us? Are we the children of light in this era? Or are we the shrewd manager or the ones squandering resources? And then Jesus comes back saying, whoever is faithful in very little is faithful in much. And whoever is dishonest in very little is dishonest in much. You cannot serve God and wealth. Are you confounded? It's a saying for all of us to ponder, to wrestle with, as is this entire reading. And that's always on that personal level. I mean, we can sit there and we can point fingers at the manager and the rich man and everybody else, but this message is for us in here. And you may know this as you cannot serve God and mammon. And mammon is described as wealth regarded as an evil influence or false object of worship and devotion. Who do you worship? What do you worship? What are those things that garner your attention more than others? And what do you tend to the most in your life? And there is this saying by Thornton Wilder. It's one that I like. I've always liked it. There's an excerpt of it in Hello, Dolly. Money is like manure. It's not worth a thing unless it's spread around, encouraging young things to grow. So what do you tend to in life? Could our resources, wealth, or whatever it may be, rule our considerations and our actions and our relationships? Just this morning we had Bo sharing his journey and the power of this community here at Good Shepherd that has raised him up, and shortly he will be ordained as a deacon in the church. This church has tended Bo. This church tends one another. This church tends the needs of this community and the needs of the world. So here are some questions to ponder. To what or who am I faithful? Am I generous with what I have been blessed? Or do I store that up and just hold it for myself? And once you get through the list of tending to the necessities of life, how do you use that excess? What do you do with it? And what are the very deliberations within the heart? Each of us, our own personal deliberations. What do we tend to in this life? The little decisions made along the way build up, don't they? And they can be life-giving, nurturing of relationships and others, touching lives, encouraging others, or offering a reprieve from the burdens of this life. Or they can serve to draw us into a worship of false God, of holding on to things that we possess. We cannot know the hearts of others, nor their deepest motivations. Only God knows each of us so intimately. We can only examine our own heart and motivation.